Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur-militam yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Trinadapi Sunichena Tarat Ivasahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Namaiva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyata Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Adigaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So tonight we have two episodes. They're related, closely related. And tonight ends Vrindavan Leela. So next week we will enter Mathura and the Mathura Leela will begin. Today's first episode is called Akrura's Vision. Krishna, accompanied by Akrura and Balaram, traveled in the chariot with great speed towards the bank of the Yamuna. Lord Krishna secretly lamented his separation from the gopis. These transcendental feelings of Krishna are part of Krishna's supreme pleasure potency, Hladani Shakti. Simply by taking a bath in the Yamuna, anyone can diminish the reactions of his or her sinful activities. Krishna and Balaram took their bath in the river and then washed their faces. After drinking the transparent, crystal clear water of the Yamuna, Krishna and Balaram took their seats once again on the chariot. The chariot was standing underneath the shade of big trees, and the two brothers then sat down there. Akrura then took permission to also take bath in the Yamuna, because according to Vedic ritual, after taking a bath in a river, one should stand at least half submerged and murmur the Gayatri mantra. While Akrura was standing in the river, Akrura suddenly saw Balaram and Krishna within the water. Akrura was surprised to see Krishna and Balaram there, because Akrura was confident that Krishna and Balaram were sitting on the chariot. Being confused, Akrura immediately came out of the water and went to see where the two boys were. And Akrura was very much surprised to see that Krishna and Balaram were sitting on the chariot just as before. So when Akrura saw Krishna and Balaram on the chariot, Akrura began to wonder whether he had mistakenly seen Krishna and Balaram in the water. Akrura therefore went back to the Yamuna river. But this time, Akrura saw not only Balaram and Krishna, but there were many demigods and siddhas and charanas and gandharvas. They were all bowing down before Krishna. Akrura also saw Sheshanaga with thousands of hoods. Lord Sheshanaga was covered with bluish garments, and his necks were all white. The white necks of Sheshanag appeared exactly like snow-capped mountains, and on the coiled lap of Sheshanaga, Akrura saw Krishna sitting very soberly with four hands. Krishna's eyes were like the reddish petals of the lotus flower. In other words, after returning to the Yamuna, Akrura saw Balaram turned into Sheshanaga, and Krishna had turned into Mahavishnu. Akrura saw the four-handed Supreme Personality of Godhead smiling very beautifully. Mahavishnu was very pleasing to all and was looking towards everyone with a merciful glance. Mahavishnu appeared beautiful with his raised nose, broad forehead, attractive ears, and reddish lips. The arms of Mahavishnu, reaching down to his knees, were very strongly built. Mahavishnu's shoulders were high, his chest was very broad, and his neck was shaped like a conch shell. Mahavishnu's navel was very deep, and his abdomen was marked with 3 lines. Mahavishnu's waist was broad and big, resembling the hips of a woman, and Mahavishnu's thighs resembled the trunks of elephants. The other parts of his legs, the joints and lower extremities, were all very beautiful. The nails of his feet were dazzling, and his toes were as beautiful as the petals of the lotus flower. Mahavishnu's helmet was decorated with very valuable jewels. There was a nice belt around his waist, and Mahavishnu wore a sacred thread across his broad chest. Bangles were on his hands and armlets on the upper portion of his arms, and Mahavishnu wore bells on his ankles. Mahavishnu possessed dazzling beauty, and his palms were like the lotus flower. Mahavishnu was still more beautified by the different emblems of the Vishnu Murti, namely the conchal, club, disc, and lotus flower, which he held in his 4 hands. Mahavishnu's chest was marked with the particular signs of Vishnu, and he wore fresh flower garlands. All in all, Mahavishnu was very beautiful to look at. Akrura also saw Mahavishnu surrounded by intimate associates like the 4 Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandan, and Sanat Kumar. And there were other associates like Sunanda and Nanda, as well as demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. The 9 great learned sages were there, and also devotees like Prahlad and Narada, and the 8 Vasus. All of them were engaged in offering prayers to Mahavishnu, and they prayed with clean hearts and pure words. In attendance were Krishna's principal internal potencies, Sri, Pushti, Gir, Kanti, Kirti, Tushti, Ila, and Urja, as well as his material potencies, Vidya, Avidya, and Maya. And there was also his internal pleasure potency, Shakti. Shri is the potency of wealth. Pushti is the potency of strength. Gir is the potency of knowledge. Kanti is the potency of beauty. Kirti is the potency of fame. And Tushti is the potency of renunciation. These are Krishna's 6 opulences. Whereas Ila is Krishna's Bhu Shakti, which is also known as Sandhani, the internal potency of whom the element earth is an expansion. Urja is Krishna's internal potency for performing pastimes. She expands as the tulsi plant in this world. Vidya and avidya, knowledge and ignorance, are external potencies who cause the living entities either liberation or bondage, respectively. Shakti is his internal potency, Hladini, and Maya is an internal potency who is the basis of Vidya and Avidya. Thus, Mahavishnu was being served by all these personified potencies. As far as the four-handed forms of Krishna are concerned, it is clearly stated that even the most identical four-handed form of Krishna, known as Mahavishnu, who is lying on the cosmic ocean, and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Lord Brahma himself prays in his Brahma Samhita, Yasyaika nishpasita kalam atavalambya jivanti loma villaja jagad andanatha Vishnur mahan sa iha yasya kalabhishesho govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. Mahavishnu, into whom all the innumerable universes enter, and from whom they come forth once again, simply by his breathing process, is a plenary, full expansion of Krishna. Therefore, Lord Brahma worships Govinda Krishna as the cause of all causes. After seeing the transcendental personality of Godhead, Akrura immediately became overwhelmed with joy and great devotion, and all over his body there was transcendental shivering. Although for the moment Akrura was bewildered, Akrura retained his clear consciousness and bowed down his head before Lord Mahavishnu with folded hands and faltering voice. Then Akrura began to offer prayers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Torah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Gopi Jana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama